Okay, everybody, thank you for joining How to Become a PX4 Consultant. My name is Andrew Wilkins. We're going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so first of all, like I said, my name is Andrew Wilkins. I've been doing PX4 for about 3 years. My background is in software engineering, and I'm the CEO and I'm the engineer at Ascent Engineering. We got a small team of a few guys who are really passionate about engineering. I still have a lot to learn, but the whole point of this is if I can do it, so can you. So why consult? Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know if it's picking. Oh yeah, there I am. Okay, so why consult? So for the UAV industry, so PX4, as we know, is better than any other solutions that are out there right now. If you're talking about Autopilot, DJI, it's very flexible and very powerful, especially if you want to do off-board computing and such like that, right? Applications on top of it. So we kind of owe it to the UAV industry. And for the love of PX4, the more people that we have working on this, the more development there's going to be, the more stability and features. Before I did this full time, I was only spending about between 5 and 10 hours a week on this, but now I spend 60 plus. And the development and the skills that I've learned and been able to put out there has really increased over time. Now imagine if there was 20 more people that are working 40 to 60 hours on this, we're going to have a much more stable system with a lot more features and more platforms using PX4. People and clients come to us and they say, here's my drone project, here's what I'm trying to do, what would you suggest? And I say, well, I would suggest PX4, and here's why. The firmware is made to do what you want to do. You can easily add that into the system. If you want to add a custom Mavlink message, that's super easy to do. PX4 and QGC tie in really well together. So if you want to modify QGC and send these types of messages, you're going to want to go with PX4. And it's really trying to take it from a hobbyist thing to a commercial type of system. And for yourself, I get to work on drones for a living. I love it. It's been 3 years and not a day flies by because, I come to the office and I get to fly around drones for a living. Okay, so this is an example. This was a Reddit post where somebody needed companion computer help with the Pickhawks. And I said, yeah, I do this for a living. Actually dropped me an email and somebody responded like, you can do that for a living? What am I doing with my life? And it's a jump, but it's rewarding. So the relevant skills that you're going to want to have besides nunchucks, software, companion computer supervisor software. This is huge in the industry right now, turning these drones, these hobbyist drones, into really smart computers in the sky. Mavlink and Mav SDK, you're going to need those because those actually control the drone, right? You're able to pull telemetry data down and such. Firmware modifications. So if a client wants a certain type of module to be put on the device, if they want to be able to digest UORB message and send a custom Mavlink message, knowing firmware and what's happening in there is very useful. 4G, 5G communication, if we have learned anything from today, it's that 4G, 5G communication, mainly 5G communication, is going to be like the next big thing in keeping these drones connected. So that's going to be huge. Machine learning is great, but it needs to be drone specific. You have to have some experience in machine learning with drones. You can't just basically say, I'm an expert because you've done machine learning stuff before. There's different things about machine learning as it relates to image processing from the camera that you're going to get that in other types of scenarios you don't really need to account for. Tools, Linux. I mean, if you've worked in this environment, like Gazebo, PX4, it just makes it a lot easier if you're running Linux, specifically Ubuntu. ROS and ROS2, C++, Python, and then OpenCV helps a lot because a lot of the clients that you're going to get are going to want to do some type of image processing, whether it be thermal or just taking like these high resolution photos and manipulating them. UAV building, also a very relevant skill to have. We've had people come to us asking for PID tuning, parameter modification. I want my drone to go faster, reach its max speed. Can you take off this? Can you add that? So a lot of these can be modified with parameters. And if you know those, then that's value right there. Assembly, right now we've run into people who have had long wait times when it comes to just getting a simple drone. So having the ability to get a drone kit, put it together, solder the ESCs, test it out, do everything right, there's value in that people will pay for. CAD design, 3D printing, stuff like that, very useful to have, because people are like, I have this camera that I want to mount, but I don't know how to mount it. And being able to draw that up in CAD and be able to 3D print it, send it off and say, here, there you go. You can mount that to here now. It's super, super valuable. So getting started, you don't need to be an expert. You do not need to be an expert, but be honest about your experience. Say if somebody's talking to you about something that they want to do. We had somebody come to us and they say, I want to design this airframe for this fixed wing and fly it. And we were like, I'll tell you what, we don't have a lot of experience in fixed wing, but we would love to learn more about it. And just be open and honest, because if you bite off more than you can chew, it's going to come back later to haunt you. Help other members of this community, even if there's nothing apparently helpful in it for you. On the PX4 Slack, if you see somebody who's struggling or has an issue, just reply and just say, hey, I would try this, maybe look into this. We've seen this type of error before, and we looked over here to solve it. Helping those people out, it'll come back and pay dividends later. If they have another problem and maybe they don't have enough time to solve it, they might hire you. Never underestimate word of mouth. A lot of our business has come from word of mouth and just talking with people and connecting with them. Underrated platform is Twitter. Twitter is a hugely underrated platform. You can connect with people on LinkedIn, but there are whales in this industry, titans in this industry who are on Twitter that nobody is talking with. A simple like, a simple comment on a post, a simple retweet goes the distance. Where to find work? PX4 Slack, #1. People post issues in there all the time. So by responding to those, giving your knowledge, and then message them privately. Say, hey, listen, I do this for a living. I have hours that I can spend working on your problem. I would really love to help you out. Word of mouth, as mentioned before, is super important in this industry. So make sure also that you are putting your best self out there and just be open, communicative with people. LinkedIn, super helpful, obvious reasons. Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr, go on those websites and type in PX4, MavSDK, UAV engineering. These type of keywords will show jobs where people need help. And even stuff like Raspberry Pi, NVIDIA Jetson, those companion computers, people will post jobs with those tags, but it'll be UAV oriented. So those are great websites. Indeed, ZipRecruiter, you can go on those websites and look for companies who are posting jobs who need PX4, MavSDK, MavLink, UAV engineers. So you can message those companies privately and say, hey, instead of hiring somebody, I have experience doing this, and it might actually be cheaper for you if you're just trying to put together a POC, an MVP. I offer, these types of knowledges that you can pull from. So recruiters might block the name of a company that you're trying to apply to. Just apply to them until you want to research the company more before sending off your resume. It works. This works. I don't condone it, but I didn't want to leave it out of the presentation because it works to find out the name of the company that a recruiter might be pushing. And discuss.px4.io. There's always people posting issues on there. You can help them out and say, if you need more help, let me know. But always be open and never let your first message be, hey, you got to pay me for this. Just help them out. It'll pay dividends later on. And then your local airfield, drone clubs. We made a lot of connections out at those, and they're always fun to go to. Always follow up with connections. So if you make a connection, mark it on your calendar, a week, 2 weeks, a month. Make sure you're following up and just say, hey, how's your project going? How are you doing? What are you struggling with? These take 5 minutes just to reach out to somebody, but keeping yourself present in their mind, again, pays dividends down the line. They might have a buddy that is working on a project and he's saying, man, I really think this thing can take off. I just need some help. Who do you think that they're going to say, hey, I know a guy. It's going to be the person that continually follows up with them. So here's a couple examples. There's the PX4 jobs channel in the PX4 Slack. And on the left-hand side, we just did a normal search for UAV engineers. And you can see these companies right here. You can hit them up and say, here's what we do. Here's what we offer. Let us know if you need help. Negotiating, beware, because there are a lot of liars in this space. I hate to say it, but drones are hot right now. Just like cryptocurrency, you're seeing a lot of people be Instagram entrepreneurs. You know, they give you empty promises. Don't be one of them, and do not work with one of them. I hate that I have to put this in there, but it's true. You guys have a certain set of skills that you should not do free work for. So no verbal contracts, make sure everything's in writing. You know, if somebody says, oh, you know, I just need this piece of software, and then this thing's going to blow up, and, you know, it's going to be huge, and you're going to be, you know, silly rich. Say, that's great, but I'm going to need something now if you want me to do work. So this is, yeah, blockchain enthusiast, cryptocurrency evangelist, you know, the whole shebang, but really they're unemployed. And this is an actual quote that somebody said to me when they were trying to get free work out of us. We're all going to be billionaires when we start delivering the vaccine with our drones. So we didn't end up working with them for obvious reasons, but there's people out there that'll try to pull one over on you. Terms, fixed rate. Have you done it before? Charge a fixed rate, not hourly. So if you're really good at something, you shouldn't get less for that skill. Like if you do PID tuning and you're amazing at PID tuning, you shouldn't charge an hourly rate, because let's say you could PID tune in like 2 hours. Well, if you're charging $100, that's only $200. So you shouldn't get penalized for being good at something. So charge a fixed rate. But if there's some unknowns, let's say that they're like, oh, I want to integrate this new sensor into the firmware, and you're like, you know what, I've added modules before, but I've never really messed around with this sensor. You can charge an hourly rate. We usually charge $100 to $150 per hour, depending on our experience and if we've worked with them before. But there's different contract structures for this hourly rate. You can do an estimate, like when you bring in your car to the dealership and they say, we think it's going to cost this much. And then at the very end, they actually give you the real rate. You can do recurring, which we love because it de-risks yourself. If you know that you're going to get some revenue coming in, you're going to have hours on a recurring basis. That's fantastic. So you can basically say to them, let's do 20 hours a week for the next 6 months, or until we hit $20,000 in money, in revenue, I should say. You can also do a retainer. We've done like simple 5-hour retainers before, to where we basically say, you know, $500 and you have us on retainer. You can hit us up at any time and we'll do work for you. You have like 5 hours of our time. We'll get on the horn, answer your questions. And then there's always annual support charges. So if you if you develop a product for somebody and they're like, all right, we'll take it from here, you might be able to give them an option for annual support and basically say, this is a charge that's recurring from year to year, from month to month. Here's our hotline, call us up and we'll help you out. Terms continued, contractor templates. These are super easy to find online. You're gonna need a contractor template. Work with an actual lawyer after you filled out this template, and make sure you have things in writing. Like I said before, no verbal contracts. Make sure you have this in writing, and make sure you work with a lawyer after you fill out this template, because you're gonna wanna understand what's in there, you know. Find a small boutique lawyer who services startup small businesses. When you're on the horn with these lawyers, ask them, say, am I going to be working with you or one of your associates? If they say with one of my associates, that's not who you're going to want to be working with. You're going to want to work with a small-time lawyer who can talk to you in plain English, instead of one of these enterprise-level lawyer firms that just chews people up and spits them out. Clauses, work after end date is 2 times. If you have a project that says it starts on this date and it ends on this date, if they want you and you deliver on that end date or before it, and they want more work, say it's 2 times the price now for an hourly rate. And if they say, well, you know, I don't want to do that, I can't afford that, say, great, then we can negotiate a new contract. Expenses. Make sure that if you're spending money for their product, that they're reimbursing you. Drones are very hardware oriented, so sometimes there might be a crash or a component that you need. Make sure that there's a clause in there that gets you reimbursed for the expenses, and make sure that if you buy something that they either buy it for you or you let them know beforehand, hey, looks like we're going to need to buy X. Is that okay with you? Is that okay for reimbursement? Just make sure and clear with them. And final tips, icebreaker project. We love icebreaker projects. This is a simple 3-day, maybe 1-week project for a few $100s that just breaks the ice and that solves a problem of your clients. And then afterwards say, hey, what's next? Or, hey, you know, this is really cool. I think it would be even cooler if we did this. And like 90% of the time, they're going to be like, that would be so awesome. And then you can go from there. You can have follow-up projects, but icebreaker projects are the best. And it also lets them know how you work. Use Twitter to gain attention. As I said before, underrated platform. Do not need an extravagant website. Don't pour a ton of time into your website. That's not how people are going to find you. People are going to find you through word of mouth. Save the money you make. There is going to be a rainy day. There's going to be a valley. There's going to be a gully. Make sure that you're prepared for it. Don't scale up too fast and bite yourself in the ass. Get a Part 107. Number one, it just, you know, when we're flying drones, the cops always come by and say, hey, you know, like, do you have a permit? Do you have this and that? Show them the Part 107, puts all those concerns to rest. And also, you're going to learn a lot about the rules and regulations that the FAA has in place. So you can essentially like program around it, right? When you're developing things, you go, listen, this is a cool idea, but I don't think it's going to meet these rules and regulations of the FAA. So there's those niche cases that having a Part 107 is really going to help you out with. And lastly, if you're not crashing drones, you're not flying drones. So when you crash a drone, don't get too hard on yourself. This is a new area. These are new things that we're experimenting with. So crashing drones is part of the process. Take it one step at a time. You know, if you crash a drone, take a deep breath, go out, get an ice cream, come back, fix the drone up, and go out there again. But that's it. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, I'd love to field them in the chat. There's my email and phone number. Feel free to message me whenever. I'm always open, and I love talking about this stuff. I'm an engineer first, and thank you for your time. So let's see here. Got some chats. By companion software, by companion software, you mean QGC, etc. Yeah, so QGC, we have had people come up to us and say, can you modify QGC? What I really mean by companion software is stuff that runs next to the flight controller. So if you have a Raspberry Pi that connects to the FCU, being able to program on that and really utilize the extra processing power, very valuable right now. So that's what I mean by companion software. Keep crashing. Yes, fines. Yes. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't look like there's anything else in the Q&A. What opportunities, languages are available for a software dev? I would definitely say, I think, so C++ and Python are huge. And that's actually, Mav SDK is in C++ and Python. That's really what we've worked with. And a lot of companies are using ROS and ROS2. And the nodes of ROS and ROS2 are only available in Python and C++. So having that experience is definitely useful. Also, bits and pieces of the firmware, I believe, are written in C. I mean, if you're going to touch firmware, you kind of need to know C, but chances are, if you know C++, C is very easy to pick up. That looks like it is it. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for your time, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.